Hey everyone, welcome to the moon forecast video. This is for the new moon coming up in Sagittarius that we have on December 12th. I'm Kendall with the Bohemian Tarot Girl, and this is my co-host Amy. Amy, give a shout out for yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm an intuitive energy coach and moon circle leader at Wild Reawakening. And it's another new moon
I
coming
know
in.
the time goes so fast. I feel
I
like,
can't even believe it.
yeah, I feel like we record and then we're back to recording the next one.
Yeah,
So,
I actually said to someone the other day that time was not real.
yeah, I agree.
And right now, especially, it feels so incredibly like warped because we have some planets that are in retrograde that are slowing things down, and then some that are going direct that are starting to speed certain things
Yeah,
up. And it's like nothing's really feeling consistent
no.
or, I don't know, progressing in like a normal rhythm or way of doing things. So, um, and then it's also this time of year.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like at least this energy with this new moon it's going to be better than it has been with some of the past um moons that we've had. So like keeping my fingers crossed there because then we have like Mercury retrograde cruising on in to mess some stuff up. But I really when I looked at the energy behind this and I looked at the charts and I started thinking about it as a whole piece, it really did give me that energy of really creating a new path for yourself. And it's almost like the pre, like if you want to pre-thunk for your New Year's resolution, this is the time period to do it. Like if you know what your New Year's resolutions are and you're just like holding out, this is where I feel like you should just go ahead, set them now, and then you're going to spend this time and you're going to gain some information and learn a little bit about maybe what you need to like switch around, things that might need to change during this time. So I think it's going to give you a little bit of a head start on your kind of New Year's goal, like once we get through this time period. So with Mercury.
Yeah. Well, Sagittarius new moon, I mean, that happens when the moon and the sun are in the exact same place. And that's an energy that we use to kind of set things in motion and create new beginnings and all of that. It's like this new start in things. And with it being in Sagittarius, too, Sagittarius being a fire sign, it's already very action oriented. Sagittarians tend to want to jump in head first and think about the consequences later, if there are consequences. And typically they don't even care what they are because they kind of like the adrenaline that goes with it and the shock factor. And yeah, there's not usually a lot of clear intent planning or thinking involved. It's a very spontaneous, action oriented energy. And so we have that coming in with this moon. And it's also, Mars is trailing behind that. And so Mars being the planet of action as well is kind of like pushing things forward in a certain direction. So
Yep.
you may feel like um, you may feel inspired or excited about embarking on something new or jumping into action on something. Uh,
Yeah, I
and maybe
definitely
you
think
might,
I
but
definitely
it,
think that the energy is really edging us forward and we're really going to probably feel a little bit kicked in our, you know what I mean? Like a kick to get going.
mhm.
Even though there might be some energy that's really making things a little bit foggy, and us not knowing exactly, we kind of have to look through those fears and jump in. So,
Yeah, don't expect it to be like a clear cut vision of where
yeah.
you're going and where you're heading towards. It's more going to be a feeling of this looks or sounds fun, or this sounds exciting to me. And it's just kind of that step in the right direction. I don't just personally, I've been feeling like there's just this kind of stagnant and slowdown and like you said, fogginess that's kind of surrounding the end of the year here. And I don't know that it's going to feel um, like it fully comes together until January and even mid-January. Because, like you said, we have Mercury going retrograde. That goes starts retrograde on the 13th. Is that right?
Oh,
It's
it's
right
the
after this
13th for
moon.
most. It
Okay.
happens on the 12th if you're in the Pacific Standard Time, so I believe.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's right kind of conjunct with this new moon. Mercury is going to go retrograde. We've been in that shadow period. And I know for myself, as well as a bunch of other people, I know they're already starting to feel the effects,
oh yeah.
communication issues, transportation issues, technology problems. Those are the things that Mercury kind of affects. And so we're going to be entering this period of time where not only will we have those delays, but even communication and things like that in general are going to slow down until it goes direct again in January 1st,
Yeah,
which is the perfect start of the new year.
Whenever Mercury comes and goes retrograde, that's always my reminder to go get like my oil changed. Do some of those things that I've been like putting off, and I'm like, oh, this is the moment right
Yes, which I just did. But
now.
it
Get all
also
those
like
things.
is an opportunity, and I think it's going to help this energy of wanting to jump forward into something, is that it also can bring something back around that maybe you didn't have all the pieces for before, and you can, or didn't work out, or didn't feel like the right timing, and it can bring it back around for you to put kind of a different level of understanding around. And so maybe you had, just for example, in a plan to do something 6 months ago, and everything didn't kind of get set in motion properly. And so it could be coming back around during this Mercury retrograde time when you also have this forward momentum, and it can be like, well, now I have all or more of the pieces, and I can see a better way of how this past thing can work out better.
Yep. And at the time of this new moon, Venus is sextiling Mercury. And so that is really that energy of, um, working through things and to really get to that expression of love. And so I think things that you're going to see during this time, and there's a couple other pieces of energy that kind of keys me into this message, but it really tells you that the things that we really need to focus in on and that are going to come up are really things that deal with really creating a passion in our life, right? That love, whatever we feel love in our life. And it's not necessarily romantic love. It can be things that you want to create, pieces of work, pieces of art, families, whatever it is, that you're really drawn to. That's where you really need to see what messages are coming through that need to be kind of corrected and shifted and healed during this time. So,
It is kind of a running joke though that during Mercury retrograde, your past
oh,
relationships will circle
100%.
back around.
You always
um,
get them. So I want to know who pops up for you.
we will see. it's it's always a weird sort of energy. And then not only that, but with you know Venus is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is kind of a very secretive sign. And so there may be like secrets that come about in regards to your relationships or potential love interests or past loves that are coming back to tell you things you may not have known before. And that
Mhm.
is, yeah, I mean, there's some possibilities here with that kind of transit. So if I'm always interested in hearing those stories from other people who, you know, are either aware of astrology or not aware of astrology to see how they coordinate with the
Yes.
transit.
I keep waiting for something weird, um, because my Venus is in Scorpio, but nothing yet.
Oh,
Nothing's
that's
come up for
right.
me. So,
Huh.
we'll see how this Mercury retrograde goes. If I get anything
Hmm.
weird, I'll tell you.
Yeah. And then we also have going along with this moon is trining the North Node in Aries,
Oh, yes.
which is also very closely sitting near Chiron. They're not exactly conjunct, but they are in close proximation. And we've had some instances with, Chiron being the wounded healer and the North Node kind of being the direction that you're traveling in and coming. There's been a lot of healing elements that are helping to open up new doorways and pathways of the direction that you're moving in. from a more healed and aligned perspective. And so with this moon kind of activating that, it could potentially be showing you a new pathway forward from an elevated perception of who you are now, which I also think is really kind of a good place to be coming on the end of the year, because you can look back at like the entire year from where we started from and see like, you know, where have you healed parts of yourself? Where have you um, put yourself in a healthier in healthier relationships, or um, just your own understanding of who you are and who you're becoming, and what feels more in alignment for you now than maybe where you were stuck or not aligned properly with the direction that you wanted to go previously.
Yeah. No, I mean, this really comes back to is a lot of the energy that we've had recently. And I do feel like, when we talk about the energy of the eclipses, those sort of pieces, and that healing energy, I think we have positioned ourselves, to whether or not you are aware of it or not, to have healed some things that are going to help you as we move forward into this new year. And when we talk about this, we're also heading into like the Lunar New Year, which doesn't exactly match up to our calendar, but it's that whole new year, that whole new, start of a cycle that we're talking about here. And so during this time, this is really these two pieces, and there's some Jupiter energy in there too, that are really key. But I really felt like these two were the key pieces, this North Node in Aries, and then the Chiron in Aries, being in trine with the sun and the moon during this time, the Sagittarius time. And so really letting you know that you really know the truth behind what you want. So you really know yourself, and you've taken that opportunity to heal. And so making sure that as you're setting your intentions for this new year that's coming up, as well as for this new moon, that you're really you're really keying into how you've healed and who the new you want to be. And I think if you are not paying attention to, how you've healed and who you really want to be, that you're going to see, if you set your intentions now during this new moon, you're going to see where the universe wants you to shift before you actually set your intentions as we come into this new cycle for this new year. So just remember that and keep, looking for those pieces that might pop up.
Yeah, it's a good point. Because as like, if you've been watching us throughout the year, a lot of the themes that kept coming up were how to come home to yourself, and self-empowerment and self-love and authenticity. And I feel like this has been a big, huge year of kind of shedding away all the things that were not in alignment for that and for yourself, and kind of an up leveling that's occurred on a spiritual level and an emotional level. And um yeah, there's still things shifting in that direction. And one of the other transits that we have going on has to do with this moon is
Neptune.
squaring Neptune.
Yep.
Yeah. And Neptune's been in Pisces, which is its home sign. There's a little bit of distortion and cloudiness, and things may not be clear, but it's also highly intuitive and highly spiritual and highly psychic. And I feel like when you have these kind of elements of forging a path forward, and then you have this influence of Neptune that's kind of keeping some things hidden from you, it really creates this atmosphere of having to rely and trust on the process and the universe and your higher self and spirit guides, and the universe in general, that things are lining up in a very kind of perfect order. And even though you can't see it, it doesn't mean that things aren't shifting for your highest benefit.
Yep.
It's like a blind trust walk.
Yeah, no, this is definitely that foggy energy I was referring to earlier, is this Neptune energy. And I do think I think you're going to be offered some things. and you're going to just have to make a faith, like a leap of faith, in order to keep going. You know what I mean? Like I think you just have to do it and know that, if it brings you joy, and do it without, wanting maybe like a return of any kind. You just need to go with your heart and go forward and move forward, and don't let your fears take over. I think that's the fears are, when I look at this Neptune energy, that's the warning I would give people, is don't let your fears override what you really want to do. I mean, we're always going to be given, I always think of how things come up is we'll be given cycles. If we don't accept an offer that the, universe would like us to take that path, we're going to get it offered to us again. And so things will always come around again, and you'll have another chance to take them. But I think there's going to be an opportunity that's going to be offered to you, but it's going to require that you almost take a blind leap of faith and just go with it. If it's feeling right to you, go for it. Don't let those fears hold you back during this time. So,
No. And I like this energy reminds me of situation, because I've been around the block a few times now. So
we all have.
there's been very like pivotal moments in my life where I can look back now and I can see that there was this up leveling happening, and that, things being rearranged to put me on a certain path in a certain direction to get me to the next level of where I needed to go, and who I was going to become, and the experiences that I needed to have to kind of create the life that I was envisioning for myself. But at the time when you're stuck in the fog of it all, and
Yep.
it it can be very, very hard to see how any of that is actually benefiting you, or leading you in the right direction, because it's like it feels, at least for me, I'm not going to tell you how you feel, but there can be like a sense of being lost, feeling stagnant in the direction that you're going in, um, not having any of the answers. It can also feel a bit on an extreme end like destruction. And so I've noticed that during those times, it's like it feels very unsettling, but at the same time, it's almost like you're given little breadcrumbs or clues, or little certain things being lit up along the way that are keeping you on the path forward. And all your job is to do is try not to have anxiety about it, which I'm not very good at, but to trust the process and follow the clues and the steps that you're being given, because it's leading you to a much better situation and circumstance, and life, essentially.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that's where we've been the last couple of months since the eclipse. Actually, I
Yeah.
feel like those eclipses kind of made things a little distorted for a while.
I definitely have felt that way during this time. We were just talking about that. So,
Mm-hmm.
since August for me. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do feel like as we roll into more around like the Lunar New Year timeframe, we're gonna see things um shift a lot more. And I think there's gonna be some realizations that are gonna come both in the collective as well as for our own lives, that are really going to show that we're kind of on the right path and on the right road. And I think you do just have to kind of go with, um, that feeling that makes it right. Like if you feel the love for it, just go for it. Don't let it, don't
Mm-hmm.
let your fears hold you back during this time.
No.
No. And we have,
And I think like, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you feel inspired to act, by all means do it, but also don't
Yeah.
beat yourself up for feeling like maybe this isn't the right time. Um, because there are situations that may need action currently during this moon, or at least a starting point. But then there's also a lot of things that, like, I guess I just want to say, like, give yourself some permission to really sit back and not feel the pressure to have to move forward right now, because there will be time for that later when it is a better energy.
I have a lot of Sag in my chart, so my Sag is telling me just to go for it.
I only have Neptune in Sagittarius, so that's
Okay.
probably not.
That's where you're sitting then, Amy. Okay, that
Yeah.
explains a lot of things right now.
There's always a cloudy path forward. I just
To end on a good note though, we do have some good energy with Jupiter in Taurus. So with that, just there's going to be potential for receiving some good news. That's always one that kind of brings that extra bonus energy that we have here. And Mercury's trining Jupiter during this time. And it ties back, interestingly enough, to when I was looking at it, that eclipse that we had, I believe in October. And it talks about like what we value and what we really want to hone in on and focus in our lives. So if you think about back to October, what was happening, what was coming to your mind, bring that into the current date, bring that into the current time when you're looking at setting your goals for your intentions for this time, this new moon and into the new year. I think that there's going to be some keys in there from that. And Jupiter goes direct on December 31st, right? Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
Mercury goes direct on the 1st. So
Yep.
we're gonna definitely have a push of forward momentum after they get done doing their backwards dance that
Where they're trying to teach you some stuff right now.
yeah.
They're on their last little kick
Rehashing
of
old
teaching.
territory.
So,
Exactly.
but I do think that Jupiter, with this new moon is giving us some good energy to get things aligned in our life, and get things
Definitely.
kind of, thinking about moving forward for that new year that we have coming up. So keep that in mind. Is there anything else you want to throw in? Did I miss anything else?
I don't think so. I think that is pretty much everything that,
Awesome.
yeah, it is definitely a more positive moon, but it also is not going to move as fast as I think Sagittarius tends to like to move.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm a little bit
Which,
sad
I
about that.
mean, my best friend growing up was a Sagittarius, and she would just kind of leap into things. And one time she jumped off a bridge into water and broke her back. So,
Oh,
I mean, there are reasons why you should probably like have some delays before
uh-huh. Making the leap.
before you can act. Could save you some trouble later, maybe.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, everyone, I hope you guys have a great new moon, and we will see you next time. Have a happy holiday, for all you out there, and everybody stay safe and enjoy your family and friends. Bye, everyone.
Bye.